is up, guys? This is Nightmare, and I am back finally with a new ESO build video. It's been a very long time, taking a long break from the game, but finally back with the new Elsweyr patch, update, expansion, whatever you want to call it. And this is a stamina Necromancer build. So for this build, I'm on the PTS. This is due to me currently playing on PC, and I refuse to play on PS4 just because of the community. Don't want to really deal with it anymore, and I want to start playing with new people, and I found a lot of really cool people on PC too. So I would be recording this on live server. However, I don't have max champion points and the gear on PC. Although I do have all the right gear and I've been playing with it, it's not best in slot yet, not correct traits, etc. So I will be recording this on the PTS. So enough with that, let's get right into the builds. Alright, so starting off, as always, I'm going to go over my gear. This is usually the most important thing and what people look for in build videos. And due to this being a new class, I'm trying to get more into depth with everything. So starting off, I have my two-piece monster set. Right now I have on Veladrith on the PTS with, these are not correct traits, I forgot to change these two. But ideally you would want Inpin on everything. But Veladreth, you can also use a very wide variety. I did have Symphony of Blades on here. This is really good for Battlegrounds or small group play in Cyrodiil. This is really going to help your healing done and just group sustain. As you know, Symphony of Blades is going to restore a lot of magicka or stamina to whoever gets this buff. But really, you only do this in Battlegrounds because of sustain being an issue or small group play at Cyrodiil. Help your healers out if the healer gets the buff. If you're playing solo, or you're playing in a Zerg or whatever, if you choose to do that, I would recommend Veladreth or Selene for extra damage if you're going to have a healer. But if you're going to play solo, I would recommend either Bloodspawn, which is going to give you recovery, Ulchin, and resistance, or Troll King, which is healing done just like Symphony of Blades, and it's also going to give you a lot of health recovery, which is very nice. So moving on with the builds, our second 5-piece, or our first 5-piece set we're using, I really throw this set on pretty much with every stamina build now just because it's so good. It's really hard to pass up and find something else that can fill in for this set, and it's the Bone Pirate set. Most of you already have this set farmed on live server. On PS4 I had like 5 full sets of this, but it's too good to pass up. We get 2 4-piece bonuses are going to give us stamina. The 3-piece bonus is going to give us stamina recovery. And then the 5-piece bonus, when we have a drink buff active, which 2-piece Command Throne, is going to give us 2000 stam and 150 stam recovery. This set alone is going to pretty much cover the sustain that we need to run this build. We're running 3 robust. We have lots of stamina with this build, and 3 weapon damage enchants. If you choose to not run 3 robust, I would recommend Swift. We do have lots of stamina, so if you lose 3 robust or 2 robust and go with Swift, you'll still have a lot of stamina to work with. Of course, stamina is going to help increase our damage done and our healing, but with Swift we can get around the Battlegrounds or Cyrodiil a lot quicker, get through fights quicker, etc. Line of sight easier. But right now, robust, it's really easy to get. And then with our second 5-piece set, and I believe this is going to be best in slot for Stamina Necromancer in PvP, is the Truth set. So Truth set is 2-piece weapon crit, 3-piece max stam, 4-piece weapon damage, and then the 5-piece is 450 weapon damage when we set an enemy off balance. So I'm sure you guys already have figured this out by now, but this ability here, Ruinous Scythe, every 3rd hit is going to set enemies off balance. As you can see, 1, 2, well, it's already had one set up, but off balance on screen. And if you look at my buff tracker, you can see Truth set bonus ticking down. So essentially, you can keep the off balance on multiple enemies, continuously reapplying the truth set, and almost have 100% uptime in combat, as long as you're just staying aggressive. This also combos very nicely with champion points, which I'll get into later. So going over the gear a little bit more, we have all stamina enchants. I chose to put tri-stats on the big pieces. If you do put tri-stats on any pieces of gear, it should only be, in my opinion, the big pieces, which is the head, the chest, and the legs here. Other than that, I would recommend all stamina. Really don't need any health enchants, and we don't have any health and attribute points either, by the way. We have a very sizable health pool and a lot of stamina, which is what I was going for with this build, on top of insanely high weapon damage and very good sustain. So to run this, you would also need to have 2 heavy on your head and shoulder for your monster set, so you can have the heavy chest, heavy boots, and heavy legs. So 5 pieces of heavy for this build. And I recommend medium on the waist and the gloves, since those give the least amount of armor. This has been maxed. We have the most possible armor with this build, with these sets. Also, due to you only having 3 body pieces truth, we have the Truth Greatsword, which is trait change to Nirnhones with a poison damage enchant. We only need this active on the 2H bar, the bar that we put our scythe on. There's no point of having it on the bow. We don't need a truth bow, because we're not setting enemies off balance with the bow. Going back, so instead of running a truth bow, we run a master's bow, infused with a weapon damage enchant. So when you light attack poison injection someone, you're going to get 450 weapon damage on top of the 300 weapon damage from master's bow proc. Pretty much, when you open in on a fight, you light attack poison injection, you just made your weapon damage skyrocket. Switching to the 2H bar, set enemies off balance, and proc truth set, again, what weapon damage is going to skyrocket. So that pretty much covers the gear for the most part. If I miss anything, I'll go back through it later. But next up, let's go over the skills. Alright, so starting off with the skills on the 2H bar, our main bar. My first skill I'm using is Venom Skull. This is a ability that I'm using kind of to execute people. As you can see, every 3rd cast deals 20% more damage. So pretty much you're going to combo Scythe 3 hits, set them off balance, proc the truth set. You got that extra weapon damage to throw the skull. This is also ranged, so usually people will try to dodge roll, get away from you. If they're out of range from you, you can still throw the skull, execute them. Moving on, Scythe, as I said already, it's an AoE, very nice, does very nice damage. The off balance, proc truth set like I said, and it also heals you. And it also heals based off the amount of enemies hit. Next we have Blighted Blast Bones. This is a way to drop a corpse. It gives us Major Defile on our enemies for 4 seconds. And it's a huge AoE nuke, as you can see, almost 17k disease damage unbuffed. So really using this to burst people down. Moving on, I have Detonating Siphon. Right now I have this slotted for the 3% damage done. Also, I can zap enemies, almost 30k disease damage over 12 seconds. So really I just kind of will proc this, I activate it, and I don't really try to focus on making sure enemies are hitting it. If they happen to walk through it, they'll take a little bit of extra disease damage over time, which is pretty nice. But if they happen to stand over top of the corpse when this ends, they're going to get hit by the disease AoE at the end, which is pretty nice. Last, I have Forward Momentum. Still trying to get used to playing with Forward Momentum. I've never really used it in the past, but I found that it was needed to get rid of snares and slows, etc. Soft CC. But this is giving us our Major Brutality, which is very important, and it's a very nice heal over time. Currently running Dawnbreaker Smiting for the ults. Of course, you can swap this out with the Colossus, but Colossus costs more. Of course, it does more damage, and it gives you that major vulnerability on everybody in the AoE. But Dawnbreaker Smiting is cheaper. I can animation cancel it a lot easier. And it also gives us more weapon damage on the front bar, which is pretty nice. Moving on to the bow. Of course, Poison Injection for the Master's Bow. A very nice damage over time. Works very nice with Necromancer. Also ranged, it executes. Next is kind of a flex spot that I've been playing around with different abilities, but right now what I've been using the most is Mortal Coil. This is increasing our healing done on this bar. It's restoring stamina to us over time, and it's a heal over time. If you don't want to use this, you can also run the ults, gaining Drain, and I chose the Major Protection morph, but you could choose the other morph if you choose to. Like I said, this is a flex spot. Find what you like to play with. And next, I have Beckoning Armor. Now, I really like this ability because it's a passive pull on top of our Major Resolve and Major Ward resistance buff. Every 3 seconds a ranged enemy hits us, they're going to get pulled to us. And it's pretty much one of our main sources of CC. But with the current meta, what I've seen is lots of ranged Magicka builds, and this is going to hard counter them. Very hard counter them. They're going to get pulled into melee range to you, and you're just going to be able to nuke them. Next, I'm using Spirit Guardian to heal over time. It scales with Magicka, I'm pretty sure. It's a Magicka cost. I don't see it saying it scales with health, but the other morph increases the healing done in a shorter amount of time, which wouldn't really work too well with a stamina build. I would use that morph on a Magicka build, like a Magicka Necro. But this is going to give us 10% damage reduction, essentially, which is pretty nice. And then, of course, Resolving Vigor. A must-need heal over time, good for survivability in PvP. For this ult, you can use Goliath, or you can use Animate Blast Bones, the Resurrection. You resurrect 3 allies and summon 3 corpses, which can turn a fight pretty quickly. I just don't like the ultimate cost on it, so I have Goliath. So for our passives, pretty much you're taking everything, of course, but ones that you want to keep up a lot are Dismember, which is going to give us physical penetration. We have very low crit chance with this build, but once we get them into execute range, as you can see, 30% increased crit chance. A couple other ones I want to go over. Max health is very nice. Healing received. Reduced damage taken from damage over time, which is pretty nice. I think we get also increased damage over time here, Rapid Rot. So that's going to help with Detonating Siphon, all of our disease or poison effects that we apply, and also Poison Injection. Ult Gen here. We have Stamina Magic Return here. Weapon, 2-handed passives, of course. Bow. All of these. We're running medium armor, 2 pieces, so you can take these for extra sustain. 5 pieces of heavy. We got Undaunted passives. We're running 5-2, 5 heavy, 2 medium. So this will give us 4% increased max stats. Fighter skill passives with Dawnbreaker Smiting. We got Assault passives with Resolving Vigor. And as you can see, our racial choice is Orc. Orc is best in slot for PvP right now, as well as for PvE. So I highly recommend Orc. So that's pretty much going to cover passives and abilities. Next, I'll go over my champion points. Alright guys, so taking a look at the champion points, first thing I want to start off with is the blue side. So 75 into Mighty, 18 Piercing, 28 Precise Strikes, 40 Thaumaturge. You could go less Thaumaturge and more Precise Strikes, or more Piercing if you choose to, but I like Thaumaturge because of the Necro increased damage done, damage over time passive. 72 into Master at Arms, a lot of our damage is also direct damage. And then 37 Blessed. I highly recommend putting Summon to Bless for PvP. It's going to help your survivability. But let's take a look at Opportunist. No, sorry. Exploiter. That's what I meant. Increases damage done against off-balance enemies by 10%. This whole build pretty much revolves around setting people off balance and increasing our damage by a lot. So not only are we proccing Truth, but they will also take 10% increased damage due to Exploiter, which is very nice. Got for red, 40 Ironclad. I threw a lot of points into Resistant. 56 into Elemental Defender and Hardy. 40 into Thick Skins. This also combos very nicely with Necromancer passives. Unchained passive is also very important to help us sustain stamina. And then 37 Quick Recovery, again, help our survivability. Green Tree, you can really go in any way you really feel like how you play. Like if you're used to medium armor builds and dodge rolling a lot more into tumbling, of course. But to start off, 75 into Mooncalf, 37 into Tenacity. I threw 11 into Arcanist, just because I had some left over, and we do have quite a few Magicka abilities, so this will help. 20 Warlord, break free, reduce cost. 39 into Sprinter. This is pretty nice with Orc, and since we don't have a gap closer, we're going to be sprinting around quite a bit. 27 Siphoner. This is kind of like poisons built into the champion point system. And then 2 into Shadow Ward. This is just remainder points. 20 Tumbling, 39 Befoul. This is nice due to all the disease damage we have, and on top of the Blast Bones, which, as you can see, Major Defile is now at 36%. So that pretty much covers the builds. Pretty much went over everything. Let's take a look at my Munda Stone, which is the Warrior. Dubious Command Throne, like I said. Potions I'm using, you have a choice between a couple. So, due to us having no gap closer, and like I said, we like to sprint around a lot with this build, I recommend these 2 potions. So first off, we have Essence of Immovability, which is going to reduce knockback, or immune to knockback, but it also gives us Major Expedition for 16 seconds and restore stamina. These are very nice. You can also go with these, Major Expedition, and again, restore stamina, but these give us Major Brutality, which we don't need, so I highly recommend these over these here. If you don't use immune to knockback potions, you're missing out a lot. So that pretty much covers the build finally. I'm going to start uploading a little bit more on my channel, probably see some gameplay of this also. And if you like the video, please like. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below. And please remember to subscribe. I know I haven't uploaded in a while, but I'm finally getting back into ESO. So, yeah, I'll see you guys later.